Every day, we strive to do more and be the best versions of ourselves. It's not an easy task, but success is available for each of us. Welcome to the Swag University podcast, where each week we explore insightful messages, strategies, and tips to help you level up in life. Your host, Dr. Phildra Swagger, creative strategist and mindset coach, will empower you with the tools you need to create the life and business you desire, while providing inspirational insights to the woman who wants to see her destiny manifested daily. So now, let's level up with Dr. Swag.
It's your girl, Dr. Swag. I hope you are having a wonderful afternoon. I most certainly am. Or maybe it's the morning for you, but I can tell you that it's a great day and it's about to get better. I have Miss Amber Gray with me. Oh my God, you guys are going to be so blessed by this story. Amber, and it's not even a story, it's the lessons that she's learned in her life. But Amber Gray is as an interior stylist. Let me correct that, because she can transform just about any space. And that's what she does. Amber thrives on transforming spaces into functional, stylish selling pieces. She's a true Southern belle at heart, born in Jackson, Mississippi. She loves the traditional and Southern design. Dating back to her adolescent years, she has drawn on creative endeavors from all sorts of inspirations, but mainly her mother and grandmother, who would bring her along on their outings to home stores and vintage shops. She was developing an eye for detail and a sense of home decor, although at the time she thought she was just having fun. Who knew it would be her future? She's an alumnus of Florida A&M University, and her background is in secondary education, where she spent 6 years in the classroom and was voted, elected, selected, recognized as Teacher of the Year during her tenure as an educator. But over these past years, she's really stepped into her passion, stepped into her vision, stepped into her purpose. And that's what she wants to bring to you today, how to recognize when the transition releases you to your destiny. So, hello, my friend. How are you?
Hi, Phildra.
It's so good to have you here today.
Glad to be here. So thank you for having me. It's such an honor and a pleasure.
Oh, I think it's going to be a pleasure and an honor for my audience as well. I know I've taken a few moments to introduce you from the bio, so to speak, but your life is so much bigger. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to really becoming an award-winning stylist.
So just a little bit about myself. I, again, grew up in Jackson, Mississippi. And by my parents not being married at the time, I went back and forth a lot between Jackson, Mississippi and Chicago. Growing up in a family full of educators, more so on my father's side, it was almost kind of just, I felt like it was innate to become an educator. And by doing so, I just fell in love with the craftsmanship and the mentorship that my grandparents and my father had with children, and I wanted that same interaction and that same closeness. In my opinion, they weren't just educators. They were mentors. They were parents. They were a listening ear, everything that those students needed them to be at that time. And I love that. I love that they went over and beyond to be that for their students. And so that planted a seed in me to become an educator myself.
Well, how did you know that it was time to transition from education into interior, the style and that creative piece of you that you let develop?
While being an educator, it's a really good question. While being an educator, I felt like I had reached a breaking point. And I say a breaking point because I would always try to transform my classroom for my students, but for myself as well. It was like an itch that needed to be scratched, whether it was rearranging the desks in different groups or changing the classroom around for different holidays or a book that we were reading or a unit that we were studying. And so I needed to unleash that creative part of me, and doing so in my classroom was the best way I knew how to do that. Also, just being there for my students, letting them do creative projects and exercises, letting them express themselves, which I feel like sometimes is very limiting in the classroom because things have transpired so much from what I grew up seeing with my grandparents and my father from where they are now. Right now, it's very cut and dry. It's all about test scores, politics. The focus is no longer on the students.
Right.
And so when my love of wanting to be an educator was specifically for the students, when that started to be taken away, I then started to really wrap my head around and really analyze, is this really the profession for me, or can I help and be there and mentor and inspire kids to do more and be more in other capacities other than just the educator? Also, during that time, I felt like I had reached the top of what I had come to do in the education field. Not necessarily what I wanted to do, but what I was intended to do in that particular moment. Because I taught at a Title I school as well as a A+ school, a magnet school. And I had been Teacher of the Year and National Junior Honor Society. So I felt like there was really nothing more there for me in a sense. And I felt like it was time to take that leap.
I see. So as you took the leap into becoming a stylist, a design stylist, an interior stylist, the creative outlet, people always often attempt to make transitions.
Right.
How did you find the confidence to know that that was the gift that God wanted you to use?
I found out that that was the gift because I started thinking about, Amber, what would you actually love to do that if they told you you cannot get paid for it by coming to work tomorrow? All of your bills are taken care of. You have no financial obligations, but this is something that I want you to do without any income. I knew that that would be transforming spaces. And what I did was I asked God, how do I put this? So why would I go back to a comfortable place, meaning the classroom, when it wasn't intended for him to make me comfortable? I felt like that push came from him as well as a profession in order to really analyze myself, what made me happy, and also while trusting him. I knew that that time had come when I was at peace with whatever the outcome would be, whatever he told me it would be, whatever direction. And I say direction because going into a complete different career without an educational background in home styling or interior design, it was even more of a test of my faith because I was just really going in, not necessarily blindly because I used to work with interior designers on the side, but just being able to wrap my head around how do I do this and just trusting him to guide me each and every step.
Yeah, what God has for you is for you, right?
Right.
He's already ordered that, so that is beautiful. So tell us, well, let me ask you this. Do you have a favorite scripture?
I do. It's Jeremiah 29:11.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell everybody. I know what that one is, but tell everybody what that is and how that has influenced your work and your life and moved you forward.
So Jeremiah 29:11 just speaks about trusting God's plan and knowing He's reminding you that I have plans for you to prosper. And when you go back to prosper, what does prosperity or prospering look like to you? And to me, that's to thrive, to grow, that's planted in good soil, and to direct my steps and my paths. That is just reminding myself that He is the captain. I may think I know what I'm doing. Most times I don't. But just knowing that before each and every decision I make and before each path or door I open or client that I accept, I pray about it because I know that I want Him at the forefront of every decision. And if He is the captain and the anchor of my life as He is, I know that He'll never leave me nor forsake me. So just reminding myself of that through that scripture and, of course, others, it gives me a sense of peace knowing that, God, you ordered this. You ordained this. You put me here. You have me with this person. And so I know that it's bigger than me, and I know that you get the glory at the end.
Beautiful. So when you first started, you were in the classroom, and did you design as a side hustle, so to speak?
I did. I did.
What was the process from going to side hustle to this can be a real business? This can be, a career?
So I tapped into the side hustle because I really wanted to try and get my feet wet with it. And like I said, my classroom just wasn't enough for that designer or creative.
Yeah. So many times you can move the desk. Right?
Exactly. I really needed that itch to be scratched. And so I needed to figure out another way because I would try to paint at home and I would just try different creative things and it just never felt like enough. And I reminded myself to where when I was growing up with my mom and my grandmother, I used to hate those shopping excursions because I really wanted to be out with friends. But it planted so many seeds in me to now I'm forever grateful for. So tapping into that side hustle, I would work with another designer here locally with Kay Jillian Designs. And she was just looking for an assistant at the time because she had so many houses with KB Homes that she was working on that she could not keep up at the time. So she needed someone. And I was, as soon as I met her at a mutual friend's birthday dinner. And we exchanged cards. And I told her, I said, you ever need someone to help you? Because, of course, she had a lot more clientele than myself. And I was just, like I said, just trying to get my feet wet. And so she ended up calling me and I would help her whenever I could on the weekends or whenever school was out and just trying to learn and pick her brain and be a sponge. During that time, it was the best thing ever because she guided me, she mentored me. She just kind of took me under her wing and I would just go home and self-pace learn as I could from YouTube videos and different books. But
you mean YouTube University.
Right, YouTube University, you got it. So I would just go and try to do those things. It was just really hard to balance because I never wanted the weekend to end because I would always want to be, okay, when's the next home? When is the next home? So that was always exhilarating. And it made me feel like this is it. And I had that this is it moment. I'll never forget just, I was working on a home for her. She went and got lunch and I really just sat there and I was like, God, I hear you. I really hear you. And it just felt like it came naturally. She couldn't believe that I didn't go to school for it. She was flabbergasted at all that I already knew coming into it and that I was able to help her in the capacity that I was just always willing. So
is that how you birthed the pillows?
Yes and no. So the pillows actually came from another one of my friends. He was putting on Juneteenth party. And at this Juneteenth party, he wanted African-inspired fabrics to go around the venue in order to decorate it. So I went and started looking for African prints, African fabric, home decor, and I could not find it anywhere. And I'll never forget, I was literally walking in Target and I said, where there is lack, there is opportunity. And so because that window of opportunity of my search looking for it was not fulfilled during my multiple excursions to try and find it, I decided to go to African Extravaganza, which is a local store here. And they had some fabrics. And I was like, man, what if I could make pillows? Pillows would be great. There are a lot of booths, a lot of couches. We can do this. It'll be something very nice. And in doing that, I literally went home and taught myself how to make pillows from YouTube University. I went there and I started making the pillows, and immediately at the end of the event and throughout the event, actually, people were asking me, where'd you get these pillows? Where'd you get these pillows? They were asking Jamaris, who was the spearheading of the event. And by doing so, I was like, wow, maybe I can combine my love for home as well as the pillows and everything home. And so that started with the pillows.
And so where can the listeners find your pillows?
Oh, I'm sorry. Gray Areas Designs.
Gray Area Designs.
GrayAreasDesigns.com.
Yeah, the pillows are fantastic, guys. You really have to take a peep at how personalized and how these pillows are designed with excellence. They really just add a pop to any space. So
any space. Every pillow tells a story.
Tell us. Oh, really? So what kind of stories? And in terms of your business, Gray Area Designs being purpose driven, because I think it is.
Definitely.
Okay. And how that purpose that has driven you to have a mission focused business evolved into the pillows.
So the pillows are actually entitled Purpose Pillows because...
See how I slipped that in?
Yes. So eloquently done. So the pillows, with the pillows being purpose driven and of course my entire business being purpose driven, I wanted to remind people or kind of give them a glimpse of where I was when I had that this is it moment in the home. To me, God was illuminating my purpose at that time. And although he didn't present it to me in the shape of a pillow, I felt like he used that moment to be able, as a staple in my life, to remind me to go back to that whenever I doubted myself or whenever I felt like maybe I'm a little scared or maybe fear is like heavily creeping in. And I say that because when selecting the prints for each pillow, I literally study prints. I study colors. My first and last name is a color, so I don't find it by coincidence.
Right. That's
that
beautiful.
God gave me
I never
that.
thought that. Most certainly. Okay.
Yep. And so when I'm studying these prints and these colors, I literally look at the print and I say, well, what is this saying to me? So I have one pillow that's entitled The Knots, and literally the print itself looks like various knots. And then I use my English background of being an English teacher as a play on words. I love to write, I love to journal and tell stories. And so when you're looking at the pillow, although you see actual knots, I use that print to be able to talk to you about the knots in life, the things that secure you and keep you grounded. And then also the knots in life, NOTS, things that you are not.
Right.
As a person, you are not beneath. You are not poor. You are not less than. You are not. And so just when you look at that pillow, it's to bring you back to that moment of reminding you of your purpose, who you are, who's in control, what's your anchor. And so when you see the pillow, you're not just seeing a pillow, you are seeing a story, you're seeing a motivational piece, which is why they stick out.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, that is so funny that you use a pattern or print like that. I have a office file, a folder. You know how you buy a plain manila folder, right?
Right.
And so I was working in a school district and had written multi-million-dollar grants for the district and was implementing projects based on those dollars and so forth.
Right.
And I wanted to order these folders. I like to kind of organize stuff when I clean up, but I like to organize stuff. And the folders that I ordered, and this is probably going to date me as well, they were Argyle pattern. You know the Argyle pattern that the guys used to wear on their sweaters or whatever. So this was like a lavender and green, beautiful folder, and maybe had a little bit of a gray in it, I think. And on my multi-million-dollar budget, I was told that we could not, NOT, expense premium folders, that we had a closet where gently used folders could be reused in as a supply. Now I'm operating probably a $6 million grant, and you want to direct me to some gently used folders. And I said, this is not for me. The devil is a liar.
Exactly.
And to this day, I have that folder. I had two. I took one and made like a picture frame out of it.
Wow.
To be reminded that you cannot put limits on what God has for me.
There you go.
And that was the last bureaucratic type job that I had. And I continued to write grants and get money for other organizations and so forth.
Right.
But that reminded me that I'm in charge of my resources because of my source. And that was so powerful to me. And that may have been, I'm going to say 16, 17 years. I have that folder.
You still have it as a reminder? Yeah.
As a reminder. You know how you go to a business and that $1 bill, the first dollar they made is taped on the wall? That's how I feel about that folder. You will not limit my business.
You will not,
and so that's a pretty powerful.
Thank you for sharing that with me. That in that moment, it was just laid on my spirit. I'm currently crafting a pillow. It's called Limitless. And so I'm going to gift you that. It's gorgeous. It reminds me of the sky, and it just talks about not putting limits on yourself or going beyond. And I consider the sky being limitless. So when I looked at that pillow, it reminds me of that, and hearing you saying not putting limits on yourself or that situation. So, I look forward to that.
Yeah, I do too. Thank you. But, and it's funny how God speaks to you. You know, people, I know you as a woman of God, as a businesswoman, but a real prayer warrior, sister of faith.
Yes.
And so, when you pray, you have to take time to listen. You have to take time to hear. Conversation is not one-sided, right? And so for years, people say, oh, God speaks to you, and you, is he on walking here? Is his booming voice? He speaks to you in all kind of ways. And he spoke to me in that folder. Yes. And so these pillows that you put together are just that powerful as well as messages. And you just have to be open to see it.
You do. Yeah. You definitely do. And I love how they have been used in various capacities, from women that have cancer to children that are homeless. I've given them to a girls group. I have had clients to buy them all the way in. I had one client to buy them, and she was all the way in New York. I couldn't believe my pillow made it to New York.
Right?
That's maybe small to some people, but I was like, when I got that first big order, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So for yoga and for other forms of therapy, I just love it. And I personalize each one. And the things that makes them unique is the story. And I love crafting stories because I feel like stories take us back to moments to where we're in a good place or a bad place that reminds us of where we've been and how we can go forward.
Wow, that's beautiful. So on that same note, what has been the hardest lesson that you've learned as you've transitioned into your own entrepreneurship of Gray Area Design?
The hardest lesson would honestly be to be thankful for the push. And I say the push, my pastor, Pastor Jomo, he sometimes uses push, pray until something happens. Or I look at push as when someone tells you no. For instance, the situation I'm in now, now I can say former employer told me no, that I couldn't go part-time in order to pursue my real estate license. And I think that they expected me to say, no, wait, okay, well, maybe I'll just put the class on hold, or maybe I won't do it right now. And I know when given that ultimatum, I basically told her, I said, thank you for telling me no. And the same thing happened with teaching. I wanted to take a temporary leave, and I was trying to kind of do both. And I feel like God gives us those instances because I was trying to stay comfortable and uncomfortable by taking that leap, but not really a leap. I was trying to kind of have a safe haven. And the ultimate test of trusting God is knowing that, like I said, he'll never leave you nor forsake you. But if you're going to go all in, he wants all of you, not just a piece. So you can't try to have that safety net there of, let me try to keep this and pursue what you want, God. He's like, no, I really want 100% of you here, and I need you to trust me in doing that. And so the push for me, and it being the hardest lesson, I look at it as, I don't want to stay comfortable enough to where it is sacrificing or taking away from what he has. And so that push is saying, no, I'm just going to make sure that they tell you no, because you pray for my will and not yours. So by them telling you no, it's me getting you out of your own way. And so it would definitely be the push to pursue, the push to pray, the push to have faith.
Right. So the push actually released you to your destiny.
Yes.
It's just really. And what's the acronym?
I really don't have
push. No, you said push was pray.
Pray until something happens.
Pray until something happens.
Definitely.
Prayer changes things.
Yes.
Pray until something happens. I love that. So, what was your life like before you really leaned into this prayer life and using prayer and faith as the guide tool for expanding your business and moving into entrepreneurship?
So my life was good, but I knew that there was better. Like I said, it was more so like I feel like this is really great, but I also feel like I'm supposed to be doing more. I'm supposed to be trusting God more, having faith more, helping others more. So it didn't feel like enough. I've never been a woman of complacency or mediocrity. So I always wanted to not just be a teacher, but be teacher of the year. I didn't go into it with that, but I have that kind of work ethic and that kind of ambition, not just be a Delta, but be the president, not just be a home stylist, but, become the top 10.
Award winning.
Yeah. So I know that in my work ethic, my diligence, my morals and values that have been instilled in me while growing up as a woman, and mentors and others that have poured into my life, I know that God is the ultimate reason why I am where I am. I've always tried to fit in growing up, whether it was in middle school or high school, just trying to find that balance in place as most kids do, and trying to figure out who I am. It wasn't until I would go to this camp called Young Life growing up. And I absolutely love Young Life.
I think they still have programs throughout. I haven't ever been involved, but I do know someone who was on the board at Young Life.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, this is the best. I plan on, if they're still around, having my kids to go to it, because I really feel like it planted those seeds early on to trust God and not trust social media or the internet or other people or depictions of yourself of what America or the world wants you to be like. So I think those seeds are necessary, and when they're planted at an earlier age, as mine were, they began to take root and show themselves in different forms throughout my life that reminded me, I need to go back to God. I need to go back to God. So having that foundational piece reminded me where to go get my water supply from.
I love that. Living water.
Yes.
So let me ask you, as you have so well spoken about your growth and your transition, what advice would you give young women who are starting out on this entrepreneurial path?
The advice that I would give is to make God your CEO. You cannot be your own CEO and then ask him for guidance once you make a decision that was your own. So if you trust him in the process and know that every process is a plan put in action or put in motion by God, following those steps, even when you don't know what's next, do it afraid, do it unsure, but just make sure you write a plan down and submit it to him first and foremost, and to go with your gut feeling. Ask yourself, if I didn't get paid for what I'm about to do entrepreneurially, would I still be okay trusting him, knowing that this is what he told me to do? So I would definitely just say to trust and follow him, to make a plan, and of course to trust that plan while pushing yourself.
Yeah. So in making the plan, because, God is a God of order.
Yes.
Are there any particular steps that you took in designing your business plan, aside from your prayer life, aside from your prayer life? What were the strategic business steps that you took to compensate for maybe not having a formal training in your area of choice, your purpose? How did you lay that out?
So what I did with that was I structured a business plan to where it would help me identify who my target audience or my particular client would be. Knowing who you're going after is super important. I don't think that any business says that I want to reach everyone.
Right.
So, Costco's has a particular client. Publix has a particular client. Walmart has a particular client. So you have to know your demographic that you're going towards. That would be first and foremost. That way that you can cater your product or service towards that particular clientele. And then next, I would say always follow up with getting authentic feedback so you can figure out how to improve. And then don't be afraid to invest in yourself. I think investment, whether it is going to networking events or other educational business conferences in your field, and looking for mentors. I have 4 different mentors, 2 in Houston, 1 in Atlanta, and 1 in California, that I actually found on the internet and through social media. And I just did a cold call and was like, hey, I'm here in Florida. I admire what you do. I've read a lot about you. Are you in a place to possibly mentor me? I really want to make sure that I am being a sponge and trying to learn, whether it is educationally or, like I said, through mentorship, just being able to pick that right. And you'll be surprised at how that help comes. And to me, sometimes they've said things I know have come straight from God, because there's no way that they knew I prayed about that.
Wow.
Or they no way that they knew I was contemplating that as an option, and their willingness to help has just exceeded my expectations. So calling on them before I make my next move to get their advice, of course, in support of what God says, or sometimes it may be against, and I can't follow that advice, but I would always want to make well-informed decisions. So having those options on the table. So be okay with or accept the fact that investing in yourself through knowledge, gaining more knowledge and that expertise is always good.
Yeah, and that's for women, that's a bold step. That's an empowering step, because we want to put out a perfect product, and sometimes our limitations keep us from moving because it's not quite right yet. I might have to call on a genius. I might have to, I can't do this until the person who knows how to do this comes to me. But when you're bold enough to empower yourself to say, I have this level of expertise, and I can benefit from your level of expertise and ask to grow. I'm at a place now where when people call and say, can I pick your brain about something? That's kind of like, okay, so you want me to do the legwork. No, I'm not going to do the legwork for you.
Right.
But if you can demonstrate to me that you've already engaged in growth and I can help you get to the next stage, then that's something totally different.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. With the mentors that I have in various states, I'm always the person doing all of the talking first, which is a good thing, because I want to let them know these are the options that I'm considering. This is what I'm doing. I never want them to feel in the way that, you just related as, oh, I need you to help me figure this out. It's kind of like, hey, I have A, B, and C. If you were, in the situation of A, how would you handle it? And B, and then I always ask them, well, why is that? I have a lot of whys. Or if I did this, how do you think that outcome would be? Or what would you suggest? And so I think that's super important, because you want them to know that you're putting forth as much effort to not only foster a relationship, but also to pour into yourself as well. So
that's beautiful. So as we've moved through your conversation around your career, and now that Grace Areas Home Design is a real business, right?
Even the title of that is a story within itself.
Well, tell that story.
So Gray Areas Designs, like I said, my first and last name are colors. So the G, of course, and then the A. So that's my name backwards. But a gray area, in my opinion, is an area of confusion. And it's an area where you don't know what to do. And so I am the solution that comes in that area to help you figure it out. So, Gray Areas Designs.
Oh, I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
And girl, you just, what is it? Just revealing me as shallow in and how I really miss the messages. And
sometimes I wonder if it's too deep.
It's not too deep, because it matters and it's real. I've seen your home designs, and you know firsthand that I know the level of work that you do. And I can say that I had at least 2 rooms that said blank. As empty gray space until you bless them.
Yes.
And so to even think about that transition, because to me, that's you also bringing your ministry into people's homes.
Right.
So here's the gray area. Here's the solution. Here's what God has gifted me with, and I can give to you. And that's a beautiful testament and vision for your business.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I absolutely love that. So, as we, close out, all my conversations are drive time conversations, because sisters such as ourselves that's busy, entrepreneurs, the time that we have to listen is from one destination to the other. You're right. To the other, right? But so as we close out, and you've really shared this story of growth and next leveling, so to speak, in
Yes.
terms of how God wants to extend you in your business. What are the pearls of wisdom, those last things, if maybe I didn't ask, or if a young woman of faith, or a woman who is of faith, but maybe her confidence is shaken in this, what can she do to really have a defined purpose in her life?
To define purpose, my words to you, my dear sister, are that you, as Maya Angelou said before, you look at how you make people feel. So if you are in finances, are you helping people be free from those financial burdens? If you are in home styles, as myself, when people come home, how are you enhancing that feeling? If you are in education, how are you enhancing the feeling when kids come in your classroom or when they leave your classroom, for that matter? I think we all have to look at being servant leaders, and a servant is not self-serving. You're looking at people will forget what you said and what you've done, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. So my goal with each client, with each home or space or doctor's office or wherever the place may be, is to bring about a particular feeling or mood and shift the atmosphere in there to where they know that I've been there. And so if that feeling is there, once I leave, I know that my job has been done well. If the client is happy, if that child is happy, because my ultimate goal is to redesign children and women's shelters.
Really?
That's my
Wow.
goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we
we'll
might
get to
not
that.
be closer
Yeah,
to the end as you think, because I have to know where that comes from.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll tell you more about that. But I definitely would say, think about how you're making people feel. And if you, like I said, my goal is to make sure that people feel better when I leave and as I enter.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And, I said, tell us more, but I already know.
Yes.
You want people to feel secure.
Right.
You want women and
Right.
children to know that tomorrow can be better.
Exactly. Because I know that your space, where you reside, where you dwell, it has an impact on your self-development, your self-esteem, how you view life, how you view yourself. And so I want to make that space inviting to where you feel motivated, that you can conquer the world, and that you're bigger than your fears.
Oh, that's beautiful. I was a founding principal in a charter school. And the charter school was intended for high-performing, what would be considered low-income students. And so, we have to think about how we define low income, because so many successful people I know started in spaces, homes, community that had limited financial resources, but so many other blessings,
Right.
Because if I think about my low income upbringing, I never missed Christmas toys. I never missed birthday celebrations. I never missed Sunday worship service and Sunday dinner. And it was just a home full of love. So I didn't even know we were supposed to be low income.
Right.
That was a label somebody else put on us. But the school was intended to serve students who mainly qualified for free and reduced lunch.
Okay.
And we started the school from ground up. I mean, I picked the paint on the wall and the books on the shelves and the teachers in the space, right? And one of the things that we did is when you walked in, you were in a foyer that was a small space.
Okay.
But it had an opening on either side where you would go into what was the multi-purpose room. And as we designed that multi-purpose room, we debated on these stairwells. And the stairwells were two circular stairwells that would come down and sit on either side of the elevator and just give a grand entrance to that room.
Okay.
So those stairwells probably were $100,000. But if we did one straight one across the back of the space, it might have been $20,000. Man, we fought for those stairs, because the thing is exactly what you say. We had high-performing students who would potentially be first-generation, I would say college students, but some of them were going to be first-generation high school graduates, okay?
Wow.
And so we wanted them to walk into a place of excellence, a space of excellence, that when you walked in, you knew you mattered, and somebody wanted you to succeed.
Right.
And if nothing else, you could look around and see excellence just for you. And that matters.
Yeah.
And
And that one word made you want to spend that much money on steps. And that is
steps.
amazing. And it goes with the word excellence. When you see two grand things going up, you think about, I can go this way or I can go this way, but I can still reach a level of excellence.
A level of excellence. And that's what it was about.
That's amazing.
And that's what Gray Area does. So as she transforms spaces, know that it's done with excellence. Know that it's done with purpose and Christ-like blessings to it. So take the opportunity to find Gray Area Designs on Facebook.
Yes, Facebook, Instagram, as well as LinkedIn.
And is there a GrayAreasDesign.com?
There is.
All right.
GrayAreasDesigns.com.
All right, so you heard it here. Amber Gray, she is absolutely awesome and a blessing to me and a blessing, I hope, today to you. So, guys, as you know, it's your girl, Dr. Swag. I want to thank you for your listening ear this afternoon, this morning, wherever you are. Find us, tune in. Thank you so much. And remember, always, peace, love, and happiness. And stay blessed to be a blessing.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Glad you joined our conversation. For more Swag University episodes, subscribe on iTunes and help us level up by leaving a 5-star review. For more information and free resources, visit our website at swaguniversity.com with 2 G's. That's SWAGG University.com. Also, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to keep the conversation going. Until next time, we hope this episode has inspired you to manifest your destiny and level up today.